My name is Amelia Reed, and I'm 35. Competence in my world isn't loud. It's choreography. Every bill, every appliance, every decision lines up like dominoes. Silent, precise, inevitable. At 12:00 a.m., the dishwasher slides into off-peak because I taught it months ago. The last cell of my budget glows green, steady as a heartbeat. The condo, my condo, deed and utilities in my name, breathes with calm authority. Nobody notices until the boat lurches. Tonight, it lurched. Lucas Harper, my boyfriend of 4 years, had that effortless, easy smile he wields like a weapon, disarming anyone in his orbit. We were at my parents' house for my brother Marcus's 36th birthday. The kitchen smelled of roasted garlic and cheap candles. Friends and cousins clustered around, competing for the loudest laugh. And there she was, Rachel, Lucas's ex-girlfriend. The one he dated for a brief, intense moment before we were together. She arrived like a confession nobody asked for. Dinner was ordinary. Plates passed, wine poured, Marcus showing off a new truck he'd just bought. Lucas was charming as ever, leaning in with jokes and laughter. But beneath the easy grin, I sensed tension, an invisible cord between him and Rachel. I tried to ignore it. Later at home, I logged into the business accounts we co-own, a small bookstore and cafe called the Page and Perch. Lucas handles the numbers, supposedly, and I handle the events, author signings, kids' story hour, community outreach. I trusted him completely. But tonight, I noticed something. The balances didn't add up. Payments to our main book distributor, our coffee supplier, even the bakery that supplied pastries. Late, overdue. But worse, the money wasn't just delayed. It was gone. And all of it, going in large, neat increments to a vendor I had never heard of. Apex Strategic Solutions, LLC. $10,000 in February. $15,000 in April. $8,000 just last week. I scrolled back. 18 months of transfers, totaling over $160,000. The room felt cold. My heart pounded. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't oversight. This was methodical. 2 days later, Lucas came home. Tanned, wearing new, expensive sunglasses, and carrying a leather attaché case. "Hey, softy," he said, kissing my cheek. "Miss me?" I didn't flinch. "Who is Apex Strategic Solutions?" I asked, voice flat. His smile didn't fade, it snapped off. "What? Apex? You've paid them over $160,000. Relax. It's high-level business strategy, diversification. You wouldn't understand." I felt my chest tighten. "It's our money, Lucas. You're bleeding us dry. That's not strategy, that's theft." He dropped the attaché case, crossed his arms. His whole face hardened into someone I didn't recognize. "You're right," he said, leaning in. "It is theft. But it's my money. I make this business work. You just read stories to kids while I handle the real work." I stared at him, shock and fury colliding with a strange, icy calm. He smirked. "So, what are you going to do about it, Amelia? Sue me? You don't have the money for a lawyer. You're too soft. You'll just get upset and move on, like always." Soft. That word always hit me the wrong way. But tonight I felt a new clarity. I smiled, a tiny, thin smile. "Watch me." He laughed. "Oh, Amelia, adorable. Now, are you making me a welcome home cocktail, or do I have to do it myself?" He went upstairs to unpack. I went to my office. I stayed up all night. Downloaded every bank statement, every transfer, every fake invoice. I traced the funds, confirmed the shell corporation, identified the accomplices. My hands shook with a mix of anger and exhilaration. This wasn't just theft from me, it was tax fraud, conspiracy. And now I had the upper hand. I printed everything, organized it, attached screenshots, invoices, LLC registration showing Lucas's sister as the registered agent, a 10-page summary with a flowchart. By dawn, I'd put it all in a large priority mail envelope, addressed to the Federal Whistleblower Program. Amelia Reed was no longer soft. The calm, patient waters had begun to cut through stone. Lucas Harper didn't just ignore the tension. I could feel the arrogance rolling off him in waves. He thought I'd crumble, that I'd retreat into pouting or pleading. But I wasn't soft in the way he assumed. I was patient, precise, calculating. The morning after I mailed the envelope, he texted, "Amelia, where are you? This isn't funny. Come home. We need to talk." I didn't reply. The truth was, I had already begun building my case in real time. I had every transfer, every invoice, every fake expense documented. I knew who received the money, how it moved, and why it had disappeared. Apex Strategic Solutions, LLC, was a shell corporation registered under Lucas's sister, someone who marketed wealth-building seminars online. It all fit, the perfect mask for 18 months of embezzlement. When he came home that evening, I met him at the door. "Hey, why are you ignoring me?" he asked, feigning hurt. "We need to talk, Amelia." I stepped aside, letting him in, but my voice was calm, measured. "We are talking. I just don't need you to do all the talking." He smirked, leaning against the counter. "You're being dramatic. This is all business. It's strategy. You just don't get it." I studied him. The man I loved, or thought I loved, was standing there, arrogance in every gesture, entitlement in every word. "You're right, Lucas. I don't get it, because it's not strategy. It's theft." The smirk faltered, replaced by a flash of anger. "You think you're in control? You can't even manage your part of the events. I make this business work. You're just the face." I let his words hang in the air. No argument, no tears, just quiet observation. Every syllable, every gesture, recorded in my mind. And then, the plan solidified. I spent the night meticulously going through every bank statement, every invoice, every text he had sent while on business trips. I documented the discrepancies, the bakery bills he'd ignored, the book distributor payments left unpaid, the coffee supplier pushed to the brink. Everything led to Apex. Everything led to fraud. Everything led to him. By dawn, I had a package ready, a full set of evidence, organized and labeled, with a detailed summary and a flowchart showing the flow of funds. I didn't call a lawyer yet. I didn't involve anyone else. I wanted to move carefully, deliberately. Lucas's next move would be predictable: intimidation, charm, gaslighting. I had already anticipated it. And then came the unexpected visit. A white SUV pulled up in front of my apartment, the kind that has no personality but demands attention. Out stepped Lucas's sister, Miranda Harper. Her presence was a physical threat. Sharp eyes, slicked back hair, and the air of someone used to power. "Amelia Reed," she said, voice syrupy. "I think you've gotten yourself in over your head." "I know exactly who you are," I replied, holding my mail like a shield. "Now leave." She laughed, a short, barking sound. "You're just a girl. You're emotional. This is bigger than you. You should just drop it. Sign over the business. Take the little payout Lucas is offering." I felt my hands shaking, but not with fear, with resolve. My phone in my shirt pocket was recording audio. Every word, every threat. "Are you threatening me?" I asked, my voice calm but sharp. "Advice," she said smoothly, but her eyes were dead. "Take it." She got back in the SUV and drove off. I exhaled slowly, knowing I had just solidified my leverage. Every threat she had made was documented. Every intimidation attempt recorded. This was no longer just a fight over stolen money. It was about justice, methodical, patient, and unstoppable. I called Ben, my lawyer, and outlined the plan. His voice was calm but impressed. "Amelia, this is messy. You're going to lose the business if you move too fast. But you have leverage. Every move is yours to make." I hung up, staring out at the city skyline. The calm, icy patience I had felt before was now a living, breathing force inside me. Lucas didn't know yet, but he would. And when he did, he'd realize that soft isn't weakness. It's strategy. The next few weeks felt like living underwater. Every breath was measured, every movement deliberate. Lucas Harper and his legal team escalated immediately, spinning tales of mismanagement, vanity projects, and financial irresponsibility. The Page and Perch, our dream, our labor of love, was on life support. Forced arbitration froze assets, locked doors, and left the community in shock. Friends and vendors who had loved the place whispered behind closed doors. Some blamed me, some blamed him. I blamed neither. I blamed the betrayal and the arithmetic of deception that had been quietly running for 18 months. Lucas's sister, Miranda, remained a ghostly presence in the background, sending thinly veiled threats, showing up at the post office, lingering at the edge of my apartment building. Each encounter I recorded meticulously, every word, every gesture, a thread in a tapestry I was weaving for eventual exposure. Legal fees were mounting. My savings were bleeding fast. I rented a small, nondescript apartment above a laundromat, nothing like the condo Lucas and I shared. I watched him post online, thriving, seemingly untouchable. Every photo of high-end restaurants, vacations, or smiling selfies made my chest tighten, but I turned it into fuel. Anger converted into precision. Ben, my lawyer, was a constant voice of reason. Amelia, they're building a paper wall around lies. You have to be methodical. Every document, every bank record, every invoice you sent to the IRS strengthens your case. Don't let emotion make you reckless. I nodded. Emotion had no place here, only execution. And then came the first direct confrontation from Lucas's camp, a formal settlement offer, $10,000 to dissolve the partnership, less than my legal fees, with a strict NDA barring me from discussing the business ever again. I laughed softly, not out of humor, out of disbelief at their hubris. Tell them, I said to Ben. No, watch them. The next shock arrived quietly in the mail. A thin, ordinary envelope from the IRS confirming receipt of my whistleblower submission. Evaluation in progress. My heart raced. It was slow, bureaucratic, but federal attention had been triggered. Then came Lucas's audacious attempt to intimidate me in person. Miranda Harper appeared outside my apartment in the white SUV again. You're playing a dangerous game, she said. You're emotional. You're soft. This isn't your world. I smiled faintly. No, it's my world now. Every threat you make is evidence. Every word you speak is a record. She recoiled slightly, realizing the patience I had cultivated was now weaponized. Days later, Lucas's lawyer called, with yet another set of accusations: mismanaged funds, imprudent community projects, debts driving the company to ruin. All lies meticulously documented to be disproved with bank records, invoices, and my whistleblower evidence. Every call, every email, every thinly veiled threat, everything fed into the strategy. The calm, patient waters were finally building momentum. I spent nights at my tiny apartment, reviewing spreadsheets, tracing payments, verifying Apex Strategic Solutions' Shell Corporation status. I plotted every possible scenario, every weak point, every leverage I could apply. The betrayal had been personal, but the strategy was judicial. And somewhere in the middle of this chaos, a lesson crystallized. Soft does not mean weak. Controlled, patient, deliberate. This is strength. This is power. The stage was set. Lucas thought he could bully, charm, and intimidate me into submission, but I had gone silent, collected, prepared. And the next moves, the ones that would finally tip the balance, were already in motion. 10 months had passed since I mailed that envelope. Every day was a study in patience, in the slow grind of justice. Lucas Harper's arrogance had not waned, nor had Miranda's attempts at intimidation, but the tide was turning, silently, invisibly, inevitably. The call came early one morning. Anya, the bakery owner, breathless on the line. Amelia, turn on the local news. On my phone, a familiar white SUV was being loaded onto a flatbed. Federal agents in official windbreakers carried boxes from Miranda's condo. My stomach dropped. Miranda's accomplice, the registered agent behind Apex, had been raided. Assets seized. Criminal charges, tax evasion, wire fraud loomed. My phone rang. Ben's voice was urgent but steady. Amelia, Lucas's attorney just called. They want a conference. All parties. I answered. Lucas's voice, raw, broken, shattered through the speaker. You did this. You ruined me. You're soft, but you played me. Soft isn't weakness, Lucas, I said, my voice calm. Soft is patient. Soft waits. Soft watches. Silence hung for a moment. Then the lawyer spoke. Lucas had been officially informed that he was a person of interest. The IRS was reviewing every transaction, every transfer, every invoice I had submitted. Miranda was implicated, and her attempts to erase digital traces had failed. Within hours, Lucas realized the fortress he had built from lies and deception was crumbling. His confident, untouchable persona dissolved. The arrogant smirk, the smooth words, the false charm, all gone under fluorescent lights in interrogation rooms. The settlement came next. It wasn't about money anymore. It was about accountability. Lucas was forced to sign a notarized confession, acknowledging the embezzlement of $160,000. He He was ordered to repay my legal fees and all business debts I had personally covered. Miranda faced criminal charges with prison time looming. It was justice, methodical, patient, inevitable. The bookstore, the cafe, the community dream, it was gone. Dissolved in arbitration, assets sold for pennies. I was left with a small apartment, a mountain of legal debt, and the scars of betrayal. But I had the truth, the confession, the moral victory that no social media post or flashy lifestyle could replace. Weeks later, a check arrived from the IRS Whistleblower Award. $24,000. Not fortune, not vengeance, but acknowledgement. The world had recognized patience, precision, and quiet resolve as power. I sat in my cubicle, staring at the numbers on the screen, letting the calm satisfaction wash over me. Lucas thought soft meant weakness. He was wrong. Soft is what cuts through stone, what endures when arrogance crumbles, what wins when patience meets justice. The woman he thought he could intimidate, manipulate, and outsmart